The US has over 4,000 colleges, and this admission season you have to choose the few that you want to apply to. Now the problem is, choosing colleges is very stressful, and you have a ton of factors to consider. Every admission season I'll hear stories of students applying to 20 or even 30 schools because they don't know how to narrow their list. In this video, I'm first going to break down what your college list should look like, and then I'll tell you the different factors that you should consider. So obviously I don't want you applying to 30 plus schools this fall. Ideally, I want your list to have anywhere between 8 to 12 schools. And you're gonna divide these schools into 3 different buckets: safeties, matches, and reaches. Safety schools are schools where your academic credentials, namely your GPA and your SAT score, fall above the 75th percentile. Match schools are where your credentials fall within the middle 50%, and then reach schools are where your credentials fall below the 25th percentile. Now here's the catch. Even if you have a 1600 on your SAT and a perfect 4.0, Harvard is still going to be a reach. These schools are way too selective to the point where each year they're turning away thousands of students with perfect academic credential. For these schools, meeting the academic threshold is just the bare minimum. What'll actually set you apart and get you in are your extracurriculars, college essays, and letters of recommendation. Alright, now let's jump into the factors that you should consider as you're building your college list. The first factor that I want you to consider are the majors and academic programs. Obviously you want to apply to schools that offer the majors and minors that you're interested in, but I also want you to apply to schools that might have more specialized programs that align with your interests. For example, if you're interested in international relations, you might want to look into the Walsh School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University. Or if you're interested in journalism, you might want to look into the Medill School of Journalism at Northwestern University. As you research the academic offerings, also pay attention to curriculum flexibility. Some schools might require you to take a core set of courses, whereas others might let you craft your academic journey. For example, Brown is known for its open curriculum, which lets students develop their own course of study. Next, I want you to consider size and location. Let me tell you right now, winters in the Northeast are brutal. There was one time in college when I was walking back to campus after dinner, and I honestly thought my face was gonna freeze off. In that moment, I was super jealous of my friends at Stanford, who I knew were just biking around campus in warm weather. But obviously weather isn't the only factor here. You also should consider whether you want to go to school in-state or out-of-state. Some in-state schools might have great scholarship programs. Also consider how close you want to be to home. Some students want more independence and are willing to move across the country, whereas others might even want to commute to home every single day. And then of course you also want to consider size. If you're extroverted and you want more energy and people and chaos, then maybe a big state school is a good fit for you. But if you're more introverted, or if you want a cozier campus environment and you don't want too many distractions, then obviously a smaller school is the way to go. Third, consider campus culture, which I kind of just touched upon. If you want a school filled with future philosophers and historians, you might find a few at MIT, but you're bound to find way more at Columbia. If you're really into Greek life and want to get into the party scene, then maybe a big state school is a good fit for you. And also realize that campus culture is very closely tied to the location. And if you want to get a vibe check on these different colleges and the sorts of environments they have, I recommend watching vlogs on YouTube. Next, I want you to consider extracurricular opportunities. Now the truth is, every single college that you're looking at probably has hundreds, if not over 1,000 different clubs and organizations. And chances are, if a school doesn't have a particular club that you're looking for, you can just go and start it yourself. So instead of paying too much attention to individual clubs and organizations, try to pay more attention to the overall catalog of offerings. For example, let's say you're interested in writing, and the school has a bunch of clubs and organizations around STEM and business, but almost none around writing and journalism. Sure, you could go and start something related to journalism, but maybe that's more of a sign that the school overall is not the best fit for you. Next, you want to consider cost, which is obviously one of the most important factors to consider when applying to a college. I recommend that you go to Google, search up a college's name followed by net price calculator, and fill out the form. This can give you a decent idea of whether a school is appropriate for your financial situation. However, do note that the net price calculator does not consider for merit-based aid or scholarships, so be sure to factor that in on your own when you're crunching the numbers. Now, there are a bunch of other factors that you should consider as well, but those I won't dive too deep into here. But they include diversity, professors, student to faculty ratio, post-grad opportunities. Which leads me to my next point. I want you to maintain a spreadsheet where you're keeping track of all the colleges you're considering, and all the individual columns should represent the factors that are most important to you. For example, location, size, cost, and so on. And also remember to label each school as a safety, match, or reach. When you begin searching for colleges, don't be too picky right off the start. Use online tools to compile an expansive list of all the schools you think might interest you. A popular tool that many students use is the College Board's College Search tool. In addition to using these tools, I also recommend you consult your guidance counselor, parents, family, friends, and even your teachers. And if your school hosts college fairs, be sure to attend and take notes. So once you have this expansive list of schools, it's time to narrow it down. Now I'll be honest, general advice is that you should apply to 2 to 3 safeties, 3 to 5 matches, and then 2 to 3 reaches. But nowadays, students are practicing something called shotgunning, where they are applying to as many top schools as they possibly can. And I'd be lying if I were to say that you shouldn't do the same, especially if you can get fee waivers. If you start early enough and plan ahead, I also recommend that you apply to 5+ reaches. However, if you're still trying to narrow down your list, I recommend you use a weighted decision matrix. The idea here, which I've covered in a short of mine, which I'll link in the description, is to take each school that you're considering and score it from 1 to 10 in each of the different categories that matter to you. Again, for example, location, size, campus culture, and extracurriculars. Then you want to multiply each score by its importance weight. Now, I've covered how to use a weighted decision matrix to narrow down your college list in a short of mine, which I'll link in the description of this video. And if you need any help crafting your college list or reviewing your college essays, check out Next Admit. Link is in the description.